What's up, guys? Welcome to Aromas and Amigos podcast. I'm Chef Diablo. This is episode 2, and here I'm with Chef Diego. And now, as promised, I'm here in his episode.
We got the master.
The master.
Master G.
Master G, a.k.a. Gerorbis. He likes to be called Gerorbis now.
Gerorbis.
He's a diva. All right, what's up, Gerorbis?
What's up?
Thank you for coming to your own podcast.
It's too early.
So what's up, bud? Where you from? Let them know.
Dominican Republic, from Jarabacoa.
Arapaco, is that a big city?
It's actually, it became a quite beautiful city now. It's very beautiful by the mountains area. Very tropical. Beautiful flowers out there, beautiful ladies. And guys too, no homo.
Farmland?
Yeah, farmland, yeah.
So you used to have a farm?
My family. We're originally from La Sidra.
Oh, you worked on the farm?
I helped out on the farm, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yes, of course, milk cows too and everything.
Why you decided to get into this bartending mixology world?
Honestly, I got interested when I was like 12 years old. It was around December. School was out. I was just flipping channels. During that time, my family, we used to live in the basement. And I was just flipping channels, and accidentally I flipped into one of TNT. And there was this guy at the beach. Looked very tropical, and he was making all these beautiful like cocktails. They were all like colorful. Some was like orange, red. I'm assuming that had to be a tequila sunrise that he was making at that part. And it was just something about that scene that just caught my attention. And I don't know, like after I finished watching the movie, like I went into my mother's fridge in the kitchen, and I was just playing around with whatever she had there. So she had like soda, and I would mix like soda with like orange juice and stuff, like trying to recreate some cocktail from the scene. And I just got inspired by it, honestly.
What movie was this?
At that time moment, I did not know who was the actor or what movie that was.
Okay.
Honestly, it was years after when I was on Hollywood Video, if anybody remembers that, by Wyckoff.
Okay,
Yeah, I was with my stepfather. We was looking like for movies to rent, and the movie just happened to be there when I was walking by the aisle. I see this gentleman, with the bar and everything. It just was Tom Cruise, Cocktail, the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Great movie, recommended.
Good movie. What they saying? Cocktails and Dreams.
Cocktails and Dreams, yeah, with the neon lights.
Yeah, that was the name of the bar at the end, right? Something like that.
Yeah, that was actually the name of the bar. The name of the bar that he decided to go for. It was going to be him and his partner. But it's a really good movie. I don't want to spoil it for those that haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. You guys should check it out. So what inspired you to create these loving cocktails that all the people come and brag about?
Well, like I mentioned, it was definitely that movie. After that, like for Christmas or for birthdays, anything that was gonna involve like anybody giving me gifts, I always wanted like books. I started like reading the books, started studying it, and just started exploring more of the cocktail culture. Then YouTube came around as well, of course, and I started like just looking at videos at YouTube, and little by little I just started building up my own little bar at my house. And I used to make just a cocktail for my stepdad, uncles, aunts, mom, you name it, everybody, even friends. So I would always like be creating. Then a few years after that, like I got a few friends of mine and friends of theirs that started like inviting me to host like private events. It'd be either like baby shower or birthdays, engagements, and just little by little just started like developing, within the cocktail culture, creating the crafts and everything. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. So you get your whole inspiration diverts from the cocktail movie.
Yeah,
If it wasn't for that, we would never have.
No, definitely not. Yeah, like that was what gave me the inspiration and the motive, like to do it. And then like I said, I started getting creative with it, and obviously people kept telling me it was really good. Keep doing it. Keep pushing forward with it, and yeah, that's from there on. It just kept going after that.
So do you consider yourself a mixologist, a bartender, And if whichever one, what's the difference?
So there are those that give like titles to it. Me personally, like I'll play around with it and everything, but like I never actually gave myself an actual title. I've always said like I'm a student of the art because I'm always learning. There's always something new to learn of the craft. There's always like another fruit that people play with. If it's not a fruit, it's a spice, it's an herb, or even beers, wines. Especially now that everybody is like getting more involved with the scientific of the craft itself now.
Yeah, like the culinary world.
Yeah.
There's always something to learn, something changing. Science, technology is changing. Things like that. It's pretty good. So, what do you feel like if you were to describe yourself between a bartender, which I know you do that's work. In my opinion, I'll tell you my opinion first before I ask you yours. My opinion is a mixologist is the one that combines and creates, right? And a bartender is the one that consistently puts out. They can also create, but normally they'll put out cocktails. They'll make them. They're faster. They follow the recipes and they put them out. Same thing, similar to like a line cook.
Yeah.
They're like, that's what I feel like a bartender is.
So yeah, like if we were to like break them down, a mixologist is definitely is the one that creates the craft behind it. And they're usually are the ones that decides to play around with like spices, herbs, fruits, and they'll create this craft and then they'll present it to the bartender. Bartenders usually cut corners because they want the drinks. Yeah, they'll come out, consistent. They want the drinks to come out consistent, but they'll try to make it faster by cutting the corners. So let's say if the fruits needs to be muddled, then the bartender will usually be like, okay, like can we make like a puree out of it? So it could be like a faster way for them to deliver the cocktail, especially if it's a very busy bar.
Got it.
Mixologists are usually are in the back scene. They'll create the craft, they'll train them, they'll present them, they'll create the whole menu, and then the bartenders will usually start cutting corners. Or it could just be both. A bartender mixologist could be, one
person.
And they'll create the craft themselves out of it.
Oh, nice. Okay. So when you create all your cocktails, do you have a method, or do you just is it like what's seasonal? Is it like what you're feeling? Is it a feeling when you create the cocktails? Is it like, all right, it's like apples are in season, so we're gonna do apples, or is it like it's winter, spring, fall, summer? I'm gonna do this, or like the popular liquor came out and I'm gonna try this. Like, what's your inspiration? How do you come up with these cocktails?
So yeah, I definitely do it by the season. So as you said, like if it's apple, I would definitely like play around with apple. Usually my go-to, because I like my specialty in the craft is complexity. So I like to create cocktails that have a complex of a mixture of things. So if it's apple, I always like to go with like a cider beer. I'll mix, let's say like rum or any type of other liqueurs, mix it with apple cider beer. And as in for sweetness, I'll use like cinnamon syrup. That's just an example. Like to create kind of like an apple pie spice, like cocktail type of thing. So I definitely grab inspiration of it through the season, fall, spring, summer. And when I'm in the zone, like I just get in the zone and I just get creative with the cocktails out of it.
So when you create these cocktails, from you to the bartender, the teaching moment, do you find it becomes different and difficult to teach your recipes to a bartender, knowing the fact that they might switch it up, or do you, because like you said, they try to cut corners sometimes, to make their life easier, or is it your cocktails? Do you think about how it will work in a busier bar? Do you plan it ahead of time? Like, do you yourself cut it down so you can make sure your cocktails are consistent?
Yeah. So that's a good question, because actually in the beginning, it was very difficult. I'm still in that stage of development still, where to teach, the next upcoming bartenders of creating the craft. because when I create the cocktail, I'm like I said earlier, like I'm in the zone and I forget like, oh wait, I have to think about the others on how to make it easier for them to make the cocktails, make sure that it comes out consistent. So my process on that, what I've learned is, as I mentioned, in earlier conversation, of the purees. Before in the beginning, I used to make everything just at the moment, like okay, cut up these fruits, muddle it, this and that. Now I'm like, okay, now I gotta make purees of it, so it could be a little bit easier for them. Or if not, like I'll make patches, and they could just like follow the recipes that was sent out, and it could be consistent from those patches that we make on those cocktails. So like I said, I'm still learning as we go, to better the team and to develop within the culture itself.
Oh, nice. Okay, sounds good. When we what is since you say you're from what is it, Jarabacoa?
Arabacoa.
From Dominican Republic, right?
Yeah.
Have you created any drinks that are inspired by that?
So
By that area?
actually, yeah. This was in it was 2018. It was 2018 when I went back with my father. It was 2018 when I went back with my father to Dominican Republic. It actually was the first time I traveled back with my dad, to DR. And when we was at his gazebo, he has his whole garden is filled with hibiscus. At first, I didn't know it was hibiscus. Funny, I didn't know it was hibiscus. And I asked him what was those flowers. And he told me, oh, that's hibiscus. So I decided like to create a hibiscus cocktail with that, and I mixed that up with passion fruit. I mixed that up with passion fruit because he also has a passion fruit tree in the house, and I mixed that up. I used what rum was it? It was Brugal. I used Brugal Añejo, mixed it up with fresh passion fruit juice, and I made the hibiscus syrup out of it. And it came out actually quite good. I actually have a picture of it on my IG of it. It's a really good cocktail. The actual tree of the passion fruit, and the whole garden was filled with hibiscus, and that caught my attention.
And
I made that cocktail. It's a very simple ingredient. Oh, and I forgot. And of course, I added Dominican red wine, which was vino tinto that he had in the house. So it was pretty much whatever he had in the house. And I created that cocktail for the whole family that were all there. I made like a big, huge punch out of it, because it was a little get together. It was like a welcoming me back to Jarabacoa. It's been years I didn't visit until 2018 when I went back.
So you were born over there or here?
I was born over there, and I came to the U.S. when I was like a few months, almost.
Like a baby?
Yeah, like a baby. And then I was sent back when my parents divorced when I was like 1 year old. And then I came back when I was 6. And then ever since 6, I was going like back and forward until 13 or 14, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. I didn't go back after that. And then 2018, it was actually my older sister, Ari, that took me back with my dad over there.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, nice.
It was just, time. I was just busy working and stuff, and every time everybody would go out there, I never took time to like visit, and I was just time went by quick.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right.
Making these tropical cocktails. In my experience cooking and working in restaurants, I see different bartenders, Americans, Italians, Greeks. I met a lot of people too. With passion, like he has, making his own. There is only a few, and I'm really proud of this guy that he sticks to this direction and follow his passion for it. You're only gonna see a few people really, really pushing to the limit of getting things done the way they wanna be see it to the public, to the deliver the product to the customers. Even it's just not gonna be only customers, it could be for family, that he was talking about when he goes back to his town. This always a passion for it. I remember somebody told me, you can have the recipe, you can follow the recipe, but what it makes you unique or special is what you put into it. Even if it's just to make it or love for it. And we all have a significant product in our heart. It's not just gonna be just to cook or to work. It's always about what it makes you feel happy for. If you're not happy with it,
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Chef Diego. He has a passion for his craft, like you have passion for cooking. We also have passion for everything I do. It's like, many things and aspects in life, we have to put our heart into it, and that's something that everybody sees that you do with your cocktails, with your plates, with your food, with running a business, with restaurants, the way we run things. We got to put our passion to it, or it's never going to be successful. But, many cocktails that you created that I've enjoyed, there's many cocktails, like I like one of the cocktails you make is called the Liddy, I believe.
Oh, the lady, yeah.
That's one of the ones I love. There's a few other ones. There's the winter one you made with the Applejack. That was one of my favorite ones too.
Yeah, the Ruby Winter.
Yes.
That was a Ruby Winter one. Yeah, that was Applejack, raspberry puree with cider beer.
Yeah.
There's more into it too, but
Yeah.
there's a lot.
Can't reveal all the secrets,
It's a lot of spices behind that cocktail.
Yeah, but that's a good thing. Your cocktails are not. I mean, I have a sweet tooth, like you always tell me. You like, you call me Theo, so I'll say that. I look at Gerorbis like a nephew, and he calls me Theo. So if you hear him slip and say Theo and say something, that's he's speaking to me, Chef Diablo. So basically, many of the cocktails he makes, I try to taste, but he knows that I have a sweet tooth. So he knows that the bitter stuff or the sour stuff I won't like, or the ones that are high in flavor, like whiskey flavor or something I won't like. But the majority of the time, I enjoy all the cocktails. And he makes everything according to measurements. Everything is precise, everything is precision, down from the syrup to the ice cubes used to the garnishes, And I was there from like part of the learning experience that you had when we first met. That's a story from another episode. But when we first met, pretty much, he came in, he sat down. I was actually learning bartending at that point. I knew how to do some of the stuff, but I wasn't. It was my first time around actually bartending, and he came. He sat at the bar quietly, asked for beer, and he loves his craft so much. He was actually reading and writing down things that he was learning. So you can see that I could have said right away, and then we started getting along, talking about cocktails and infusions and stuff like that of liquor. That's when I first started.
Diallo was making drinks.
Yes, it was. It was, and I was not bad.
It wasn't.
I wasn't bad.
It was a lot of It was definitely classic cocktails, but it was with your own
twist
to it.
Yeah.
So it was definitely quite interesting, especially the mojito twist that you did with the champagne. It was like raspberry with a fizz.
The very berry mojito.
Yeah, it was like a fizz type.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, a couple of things. It was a couple of things I see picked up. I like to look and do research, but I don't that's not my thing. But when we met, I asked you to come in, you helped me, and you did it. You did it. And then where we're at today, we're a big family now.
Yeah.
The three amigos. 5 years of knowing Gerorbis. Yeah.
5 years.
And then about almost 10 years of knowing Chef Diego. More than 10, yeah. but it's been,
How was actually that encounter with you guys? How do you guys get started within the restaurant culture? Like, what really like you guys already learned a little bit of what motivated me between the cocktail craft. How about the culinary culture?
Well, what motivated me was when I was younger. I had a knack for cooking. I learned like how to make eggs and things when I was younger. A lot of breakfast items my mom would teach me. Like, the majority of the time she was at work and I would have to cook. So when I was like 8, 9, I would learn little things. And then, one day I just, for some reason, I took some crayons and some paper and I made like a fake menu. Like with like, an egg and the bread and, little things, milk and cereal. And then my family would sit down. And it was very rare at that time. They would never, eventually, as I turned 11 and stuff, nobody was home. So at that time, they sat down very rarely, usually like on the weekends. And they sat down and they took the menu, they read it, they ordered something. And I would make it. My mom would actually come in and help me make it. Then I would watch her cook and everything. And she taught me the little things here and there. And after that, I created so that's how I kind of started that journey. And from there, everybody was like, I took a pause and I got into computers. And then, like, I wasn't so into cooking. It was just like a moment when I was younger. But then I got into computers. And computers was my life. Like, I loved computers in and out. I used to take them apart, put them back together. I was like 10, 11 years old with tools, messing them up. And my brother had a friend that fixed them, so it wasn't an issue. But, things like that. And then later on, eventually my sister got married. And they don't cook. So when they got married, their spouses cooked. And I saw the guys cook. And then I started learning from one of my brother-in-laws at that time. They're not together no more, but he was German, I believe, Irish, and like another thing. I'm not too sure. But he would do all the American food. Like, mac and cheese, mashed potato things, meatloaves. He would cook like on the book by the recipes from his parents, like passed down. That's how he learned. Then my other brother-in-law was the creative one. Like, he would cook any cuisine. He'll go to Chinatown. He'll walk down. If he doesn't recognize an item and you could cook with it, he'll bring it, cook it, do something with it. So I learned that creative, like to think out of the box from him. And then like following recipes and everything from the other brother-in-law. And then the other brother-in-law pushed me to go to culinary school. Because I picked up all the recipes that he made, I picked it up fast. So the first 2 Thanksgivings with him, I helped him out. And then after that, I liked it so much that every Thanksgiving I started cooking. So for like 7 years, 8 years, I was cooking Thanksgiving for the family. My family's big. Well, not like your family, but my family is big. We're ones that were here. And that's how it would be. And then I became, I wanted to go to culinary school, but it wasn't, I was budgeting. Mom didn't want to send me at that time because I was like not a good student, not a good son at that moment, so she didn't trust that.
How old were you actually during that time on the culinary
school?
Yeah.
I was, I believe it was 20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But after I got out of, after I got out of high school at 17, 18, 19, 20, I was like, I was working, but I didn't want to go to school, really. My mom, I asked her, because I needed her help. Sally Mae, like that garbage loan place, like always messes you up. But they were the only option, and they needed like your co-signing parent at that time. But she didn't want to do, it was just too much of a burden. The culinary school I went to wasn't like a full degree. It was 6 months, and then but it was an intense 6 months. And then at the last 2 months, they threw you in because they also had a restaurant. They put you in a restaurant to work, to learn those skills, to tap into those skills that you could learn. So it wasn't all books. You get me? So that's what's there. A lot of culinary schools, from my knowledge, this is 2023. Back then, they usually teach you, and then at the end, you get an internship with whatever restaurant. But this school, in order to graduate, you get an internship. But my school had its own restaurant, so they use it as a level of school. So I learned from there. I could say, like I said in the last episode, we spoke about this gentleman named Antonio that we both worked with first. That's how we met, and we learned a lot from him. But what I learned from him was, and like I said in the previous episode, was that you don't need that degree. The degree really taught me like the pricings, the business aspect of it, the budgeting, things like that, and the rules and regulations of New York and some other states. But when it comes to like the speed, the quick thinking on how to like change things, like say you burn something, how to really quickly jump back into that, I was learned on hands-on. So it's like you have to learn that hands-on.
More like the policy and the procedure of it.
Yeah, basically all the book stuff. All the book stuff I learned from school. And I mean, owning the business now, I utilize all of it. I mean, many times I spoke to you about the liquor, how to break down. And how yeah. So it's like those things I learned from school. Even though I double check it now, it makes sense to me. You know, the whole formula. You know, so budgeting, plate cost, liquor cost, things like that. That's what they teach you. But yeah, I love cooking. I love creating. And it's, you know, I always think out of the box when I cook. You know, I always, like I tell Chef Diego all the time, I come up with my recipes best when I'm hungry. So I'm hungry, now I come up with recipes. And those are the times when I don't make like eggs and bacon. I'll make like eggs, omelet with bacon and like whatever's the corn and like pico de gallo on top and, you know, Vida Verde sauce. That's me. Like I have to be hungry. That's when I pull apart bread, like the infamous pull apart bread at Cream. That's something I created really, really hungry. You know, I was like, why don't you put cheese, this, that, and the third? You can't give you away my recipes yet. But you know.
No, but yeah, speaking about cheese though, what about like when you guys went like that whole trending situation with the whole birria tacos? How was that, Diego, for you? How you created that?
Everybody was doing birria tacos at that moment. New York City and a lot of states in United States are popular now because of the birria tacos. What it makes different my birria tacos is that I use short ribs and it's nothing really special on the sauce and the marinade, but it's basically the tender from the short ribs and the cooking time. So yeah, and it became popular in Cream. Since that time, it's on the menu. There is people that come just for the birria tacos. But you know, there is a lot of more dishes that we have in the restaurant. Just, you know, something that was special on that time.
What makes yours special? What makes the technique that you do? Because it doesn't look like normal people birria tacos.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's like, really good.
I've had different birria tacos from other restaurants, and yours definitely takes the cake right now.
Yours. We see how we do it. Like I'm with you in the kitchen, but the way you decided to present it and do it and cook it, it's really you could taste the flavor stand out. So like, why do you cook the birria tacos the way you do?
Sometimes the what it makes a special a dish or unique is what somebody told me before. It's not just the recipe by itself, but it's the process. The process that it's involved to present the recipe is what it makes special the dish. And I believe the process that it has the birria in the whole thing, it's special and unique. Plus, you know, honestly, the birria tacos, what I like about the birria tacos is what it has, because it has the cheese and it's crispy. The ones that I make, it has to be not super crispy, but it has to have that crunch. And it's not just regular tacos that we get in other food trucks or restaurants. It's actually special because it's the process that is involved.
All right, so let's wrap this up. We'll introduce you, Gerorbis, aka
Master G.
used to known as Master G, formerly known as Master G,
I imagine.
and Chef Diego. You heard a little about us, and you found out a little about me, Chef Diablo.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Pretty
Until the
cool.
next episode next week. See ya.